Welcome to the Infinite Prosperity Podcast. I'm your host, Louisa Havers, and I help high-level entrepreneurs and leaders unlock the codes of sustainable success through energetic mastery, wealth consciousness, and aligned strategy. Here, we go beyond mindset. We go into the quantum, the subconscious, the soul, the energetics, so that you can create a business and life that's prosperous, powerful, deeply fulfilling, and create the legacy that you came here to make. If you're ready to expand into your next level with more ease, alignment, and flow, then I would love to invite you to our free energetics experience, The Energetic Edge. This is where we dive into the hidden energetic patterns that hold high achievers back and activate the frequency that's required to go beyond your current ceiling. You can join us at louisahavers.com/energetics, and we'll pop the link in the show notes for you as well. Alrighty, now let's dive into today's episode. A huge welcome. Welcome, everybody. I have a treat for you today. We are joined by the phenomenal Sasa. Welcome, Sasa.
Hello. Hi.
So Sasa is a spiritual advisor, clairvoyant, channeler, and artist with over 20 years of experience supporting spirit-led individuals in releasing the shackles of the old stories, don't we all have them, that can get in the way of us living our highest potential. You've got such an interesting journey, so I would love to dive into this as a great way to start to get to know you. You mentioned that you had a Kundalini awakening in 2020. Tell us about that.
Yes. So I kind of in January 2020, I felt different. I woke up with the ability to hear higher beings, angels, spirits. And I had always been intuitive and been able to hear things sometimes, but just suddenly, like all these gifts just woke up in me. And it was really great. I had this spirit guide come and work with me. And I started learning all of these amazing things about the quantum realm and the 5D. I started having quantum experiences on a daily basis. It was just quite incredible and hard hard for people to believe until I started telling stories to people more and more often. It was hard to be vulnerable, but I started opening up, and then people started coming and telling me their stories. And I started to notice that this was actually a phenomenon. This is something that is, so much is shifting on the planet right now, and so many people are coming into this new awareness of the 5D and the quantum realm coming into everyday existence. So it's been really quite remarkable experience. I've had so many beautiful encounters with spirit over the course of this last 5 years. And it's only getting more and more fun every day. Although I will say I did have a hard journey. I have to like land it there a little bit just because not everyone's journey is just sunshine and roses, So I I like to also hold space for people to have, whatever experience they're having and to represent it accurately for how it happened for me. But overall, it's been such a beautiful unfolding, and I've just been blown away by the things that I've been witnessing and learning over the course of this experience.
Oh, this is just so incredible. I know that so many people that have spoken of these Kundalini awakenings reflect about how profound they are in terms of moments of transformation, and then ultimately leading to seeing life in a completely different way, and how we approach life, whether it's approaching the business models that we have in our business, and being able to really see ultimately the bigger impact. How has your awakening then impacted your path and your
Yeah.
work with spirit-led businesses?
Yeah, it's been really fascinating. So, one of the key things that happened for me is I really stepped into my Dharma. And I think when we start to step into that, things start to flow differently. You start to notice connections. You start to be able to make bigger realizations. You get to do bigger work, you start to notice the profound ripple effect of the things that you do. You start to realize that you have this power to make an impact in the world that is maybe even bigger than what you could possibly have envisioned before. And so your vision grows. I found that my self-belief grew over the course of the time that I've gone through my experience, and it makes me dream bigger and try bigger things. And then there's that, that idea that when you follow your Dharma, things start to come together more smoothly. So you start to notice how everything works together. So, working with spirit-led individuals, I do spiritual advising. I also still do some business consulting as well, because that is my background. I started to shift into spiritual advising, but it's funny, I was always doing some measure of spiritual advising in the work I was doing with my business coaching, because most of my clients were empaths and healers, and also clairvoyants and mediums, and that sort of ilk of people. And so yeah, so what has to happen is we have to get aligned with our true self. That's the key underpinning of everything, because when you are starting to realize that in the world, things start to flow more smoothly, and you start to like know yourself on a deeper level. So you branding starts to shine. You start to actually really represent yourself in the way that you want to be seen. You start to know what that's like. So that's part of the work that I do with people, is to reflect their true self back to them so that they can do things like cultivate a powerful brand. They can step into greater prosperity in their work. They can have a clearer vision for what they want to do with their programs and their packages and those sorts of things. And um, and I think, the call to sort of awaken is actually a profound one that impacts all kinds of areas of life, and business is definitely one of them.
It's an expression, isn't it, of ultimately ourselves manifested in the business form. There's so much here, Sasa. This is just wonderful for people as they're recognizing what perhaps they can take from their own awakening experience. I think you've touched on this in part, but just to kind of flesh this out more, what are some of the key takeaways from the insights that you received during your awakening experience?
Well, it's been very fun because Gaia talks to me, and so I get all these insights about the 5D and the new Earth that's coming into form. And it's funny, there were 5 tenets of the new Earth that were communicated to me that have really changed the way I think about things a lot. So the 5 words that go with the new Earth are love, truth, curiosity, romance, funny, and play. And so when we think of romance, it's not always, it doesn't have to be just about like intimate relationships. It can be, but it's also about how we romance ourselves, how we, dote on people, how we spread love in fun ways. So the underpinning of the universe is on some level romantic in nature. That's the kind of takeaway. But when we are guided by love and truth, when we step into that world where that is the guiding principle, or these are the guiding principles of the planet, you start to notice the mojo working in a different way. And that is kind of the promise of the fifth dimension, is to step into this place where everything is magic and things that don't make sense can start to come together, and your calendar can be miraculously arranged so that everything works out beyond your expectations. Your insights that come in are really aligned with your dharma and your highest good and those sorts of things. So, and the biggest one was being your true self was like the most important thing. So that's where personal growth is a real important factor in things, is we keep stepping into more and more of our true self, and then things start to line up more fully. And ultimately, what this all means is you got to follow your passion. You got to lean into that. You got to, if you don't know what your passion is yet, you've got to be curious. You have to start exploring a little bit and putting your toe in the water of the things that you're interested in and take action on those things. So those are some precepts. And, ultimately, because everything's based in love and truth, you've got to follow your truth. That is such an essential piece of the puzzle, is to follow your truth.
I love this. It's so key. And I think it's one of those pieces where often people might ask, well, how do I really know what is my truth? Because of all the programming that we've got going on. And we can think that this aspect over here, this version of ourselves here, that's our truth. And then you start to recognize, and of course, everyone who's listening to our conversation is on that journey of evolution and uncovering the different layers of, that you identify. And there's always more, isn't there, where you think you've kind of got to understand one level, and then there's another aspect. As you're talking around being able to come back to your truth and to live from that place, what do you see are from your perspective, that the possibilities with the quantum world and how we tap into that?
Well, the thing that we take away from the old paradigm of reality, which is contributing to the programming and things like that we experience in our world, is that we tend to kind of edify a struggle mock-up of reality. So a struggle-based mock-up. We step into a world where, challenge is good, but like, do I need to have part of my hero's journey be that I have to struggle to get there? You know what I mean? That is the way is struggle. And I'm not saying we don't, but it happens, but it's like we kind of put that on a pedestal. And in the fifth dimension, ease and flow are totally the way that we want to go. And so it doesn't mean that we turn our back on how we can grow from challenges that come up, but we invite ease in and flow in, and we start to get curious about how we can expand that in our work and our life and allow things to flow more smoothly. And things are meant to be a lot, more flowing in our lives. And we are invited to be curious about how to have more and more of that in our everyday world. And a lot of that is leaning into these little impulses that you have that are kind of you taking your sovereignty and taking root in what is yours and taking action on little inspirations and things that help you lean into who you really are a bit more every single day. That's how we conquer all that conditioning, is to lean in a little bit every day and say, I get a little more ease today. I'm giving myself a little more ease today. I'm not going to necessarily think that it's all got to be a struggle for me to get where I need to go. I'm going to decide that I get to have it easy. And I am still, it's still just as valid and valuable of an offer if I had a really easy time getting there. So it's just a little bit of a tweak in thinking that makes a huge difference.
Huge difference, because the frequency of having more ease versus the frequency of chasing something or striving or having to work really, 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 really hard to get something so that we can feel valuable, is the frequency behind it is so different. And so that subtle shift and being able to tune to that frequency of ease is where and to be able to do that in an easy way rather than it having to be a struggle to get there, is so key. Because when we are creating from ease, trust, taking aligned action, then the ripple effect is beyond what people often have thought that they could create.
Mm-hmm.
What's
Agreed.
from your perspective as because we've talked about the impact of, well, the importance of, our personal growth. What do you see as the connection, that direct connection between personal growth and running and having a thriving business?
Mm. Yeah, it's really beautiful because as we start to expand our awareness, I think what happens is we get more creative and we're more tapped into how to find resources. And we cultivate positive relationships because we are coming at things from a really aligned place. And we are attracting people that are on a higher vibration. And those relationships can totally transform your life. You just never know how one coffee date is going to change your whole world. And when we are more receptive, we often are more likely to go out of our comfort zone and schedule that coffee and take the time to get to know someone and to kind of move past maybe a lot of empaths are very introverted, so uh, move past that and say, I'm willing to go out there and network for a day and then meet someone who could be a lifelong friend. I mean, it's funny. I tend to go to networking events with the intention of collecting a new friend every time I go, and those relationships have profoundly changed my life because of all kinds of reasons. But one of them is inspiration. That's a huge one. And it has been and obviously making connections with the right resources to get your business off the ground and having solid relationships and getting in a referral network too is definitely very helpful. Um, but it's really profound when we start to go down that path of listening to little nudges more. It's like there's more access for us to what is available when we're in a more kind of, my guides want to say, like a 5D way of being, so a more kind of, it's electric. It's amazing like how things can start to just pop, 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 when you're in that dynamic flow with the universe and you're co-creating with all that is, it's pretty amazing. Um, and, it's funny how the world responds to you differently when you're stepping into your Dharma, too. It will meet you more easily when you're in that flow, so you start to notice that it's like you may have had the same email list, but you're getting a different response than you were the day before you started pivoting into your full Dharma. That's an example that I've seen happen. And you're likely to get more leads that way, because people respond to your energy. So you're on a sales call and you've got this really beautiful energy, people are going to lean into that. You're not coming in from a place of scarcity. You're coming in from a place of opportunity and potential, and that opens up doors too. So there's all kinds of stuff that goes with the idea of following your truth and your voice and letting your voice be heard. So those are some things that I think about, and I also feel like when we're stepping into uh, our 5D self, we start to hear guidance more clearly. And so we might hear a little voice say, try this. And you go, oh, I hadn't thought of that. I'm going to give that a go, So that's a cool thing too that can happen as well.
Absolutely. And of course, the more we listen and follow, then the stronger we can trust that the voice of our higher self and the guidance that we receive.
Definitely, definitely.
So from your perspective, and we've got our 3D world where success is often, people perceive it as being linear and hard work, that kind of paradigm, strategy, effort, push, push, push. 5D, alignment, love, truth, energetic frequency, really ultimately moving from, instead of us forcing success, but living in flow and flowing our way to success. What would be some of the perhaps practical shifts entrepreneurs can make to move from that 3D to the 5D way of doing business?
Yeah, yeah. Well, the biggest part of being in the new earth paradigm is that we recognize that we are rooted and grounded in uh, all of this juiciness, and Mama Earth is here to hold us. So just knowing that can really change everything. You don't feel as isolated, you feel more connected, and that just will ease your nervous system. So just calming your nervous system can be a really profound way to move into a new way of being and to shift your relationship with your work, because a lot of the push pull, the stop start happens because our nervous system is out of whack and we're not able to, settle down. And that kind of sense of like one foot on the gas, one foot on the brakes, that is usually something to do with the nervous system. So, that feeling of feeling belonging and to feel supported can help ease that a little bit. Um, and then, one thing that I find is that people tend to go on a journey all the time. I call it journey obsession. We always want to be on a journey. And sometimes we need to arrive and to recognize that we're arriving. And I think that is a mindset shift that can really transform things, because then what happens is you start to count your successes as you go. You start to recognize the little ones. You start to go, oh, I just achieved something in that moment. That was actually really profound, and it's going to build on the next achievement. And so you're kind of constantly arriving versus journeying all the time, because we don't take stock of where we are enough. We always have our head in where we want to go. And so when you can shift your mindset into this sense of, I keep I keep hitting my targets. I keep making I may not always reach my goals, but I always hit my target, which was to try to put my best foot forward, to, not that we want to focus on effort a lot, but make my best effort, which might look like slowing down a little bit and taking time to do it in a way that is more in alignment. But still, this sense of arriving can be really powerful, because then we start to acknowledge where we're doing really well and we can build on that.
So true, so true. That piece around being able to acknowledge where we're at, because it's being in that present moment. That's where we can fully receive, and we can't fully receive if we've sort of split our energy, because we are so much focused on the next piece, and that's that part of that hustle train, isn't it? If we are allowing ourselves to be in alignment with where we are right now.
Yeah.
That shift from force to flow is really what I'm hearing you share, which is, this is just incredible for people who are really wanting to live in a 5D universe and to say goodbye to the hustle. And for those that are in that space and they're really wanting to create that love-based business and to let go of the old paradigms, what's one step that they could take today to start aligning with that new way of expansion from your perspective?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it comes down to like really aligning and taking action from alignment, as we've talked about. And if you are having something nudging you for a week or a month, it is probably something that you need to explore. And I think that is the key thing, is giving yourself that open space to like say, I'm going to try this for a little while. I'm going to give this a go. I'm going to put some thinking behind it. I'm going to ask some questions. I'm going to see what my trusted cohorts think about my idea, or I'm going to look for a way to execute that, and then wrap my head around what would be involved. We sometimes stop at the idea and don't take it to the next place, and you never know where an idea is going to take your whole endeavor. It could totally transform it. So we tend to leave ideas on the table. I'm too busy. I'm too overwhelmed. I I know what I'm doing is working to some extent. I don't want to change everything. And you don't have to change everything overnight. You get to just take it a step at a time and feel it out. And you might get, 3 feet down the road and go, you know what, this isn't right at all. Or you might get down there and go, this is almost there, but maybe I need to go in this direction. And maybe that would work. And maybe, you get really creative, I think, when you start to take a little action on stuff and like move it forward a little bit and see where it goes versus, cutting it off at the source. But, as we get ideas all the time, and sometimes something sits with us for a little while and it doesn't have any energy or mojo, but still, I think that we tend to think that it's like every idea may not be for us, but I know that when it's persistent, I need to do something about it as opposed to just leaving it out there, floating in the ether. So that's one thing that I think of all the time is, am I gonna execute on this, and what would it look like for me to do that? Let me take a little bit of get a little traction on it and see how it goes.
I love it. It comes back to that being curious that you were saying around love, truth, curiosity, romance, and play. There's a real element of that play and curiosity in let's give it a go, and that sort of detachment from being able to explore things and saying goodbye to the mind who's trying to shut things down because it's not in our business plan or whatever it is that we've decided.
Yeah. It could just be a whole new business. It may do you very well to pivot entirely, you just never know. Once you start to like let it sit in your body a while and let yourself feel it out. I think that's the key thing is like start to let it live a little bit inside of you and then see, and then it might be time to make a pivot. You never know. It's not as bad as it sounds. Sometimes, it can seem like a big, oh my God, my whole life is changing, and it might actually work out great. It's worth trying.
Totally. Oh my word, I love this so much. How can people get hold of you, Sasa? Tell us all the things. Where do you like to hang out?
Yeah. Well, my website is www.sasa.art, and that's spelled Sasa. And then I also am on Instagram at Sasa Knows. So that's KNOWS, SASA, KNOWS. And yeah, those are the primary places that I'm available. And if you want to follow me on YouTube, my business is Sovereign Spirit. So you can look up Sovereign Spirit on YouTube and find me there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I know you've got a freebie as well. Tell us a little bit about your free.
Yeah. So it's called the Ganesha Freedom Process. It's a 3-part masterclass, and it'll help you release old programming and blocks. It'll help you step into the quantum universe with all its infinite potential, and help you embrace your true creative genius and realize your expanded self as a person of the emerging earth.
Oh, I love it. I can see everyone rushing off to download that. So thank you so much. That's amazing. Thank you so much for joining me today and for your wisdom and love. Sasa, I truly appreciate you.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really grateful.
And thank you everyone who's joined us for this conversation. Please do come and find Sasa on social media and myself on social media. Let us know what resonated in our conversation today. And of course, do share this episode with anyone that you think it would serve. Until next time, sending you lots and lots of love.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Infinite Prosperity Podcast. I hope it's left you feeling inspired, expanded, empowered to embody your next level of success. And I would love to invite you to join me for the Energetic Edge. This is my free energetics experience for entrepreneurs and leaders who are ready to master the frequency of their next level. You'll discover how to identify and shift the subtle energetic blocks interfering with your capacity for more income, impact, and expansion. You can join us at louisahavers.com/energetics or via the link in the show notes. And I'll see you there. Here's to your next level, and I'll see you in the next episode.